All right, so we're here to talk about cardiovascular exercise. I know a lot of people will refer to cardiovascular exercise, and the term you always hear is I got to do some cardio. And it's something that I want to kind of clear up and remind people that cardio doesn't need to be done on an elliptical machine, on the treadmill, jumping rope, or anything like that. Cardio really can be simplified by boiling it down to kind of two forms of exercise that is good for your heart and lungs. Okay. And these things do not have to be done on cardio equipment. So, I think there's a lot of confusion there. You know, when you're lifting weights, keep in mind your heart rate is elevating. You are still exercising your cardiovascular system. So again, instead of referring to these exercises as cardio, I think what we're better off doing is recognizing, are we doing aerobic exercise or are we doing anaerobic exercise? Now, most of the cardio exercise that people think they're doing, I think they think that they're doing this in an aerobic form or an aerobic level of exercise. Aerobic exercise just means you're keeping your heart rate at a sort of lower kind of cardiovascular level. Your heart rate is elevated, but it's not super, super high. Anaerobic exercise, which is still cardiovascular exercise, is done at a much higher intensity. And a lot of times if I walk into a gym and I see someone running on a treadmill or grinding away an elliptical machine, they think that they're doing aerobic exercise, but most of the time their heart rate is way too high. They're really gasping for air and they're really sweating like crazy. They're not really doing aerobic exercise. They're doing anaerobic exercise. So remember, if you're in the gym, you're lifting weights, you're lifting heavy, taking long rests in between, that is still benefiting your cardiovascular system. You're still getting your heart rate up. You're still exercising your heart and lungs. I also want to kind of give you an example of an aerobic form of exercise. So I'm going to grab two dumbbells. These happen to be 8-pound dumbbells. And I'm going to do some exercises that don't look anything like cardio. But we're going to see I'm going to get my heart rate up into an aerobic zone. So all I'm going to do is just vary the exercises, giving myself little to no rest in between the exercises. And I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here, just choosing some various exercises. And as I do this, I'm going to check my heart rate and we'll see if I can get myself up into an aerobic zone. And as long as I sustain the exercise and don't let my heart rate drop below that aerobic zone, then I am getting some great cardio here. I'm starting to feel my heart rate responding. All right. My heart rate's beginning to get up close to 100 now. And again, if I keep doing this, my heart rate will eventually hit that aerobic zone. Then all I've got to do is just kind of keep moving here, keeping that heart rate up into that aerobic zone. And I am technically doing cardio. So remember, we don't always have to separate our workouts as workouts where I use weights and workouts that I do on an elliptical machine, thinking that one is for my muscles and the other is for my cardiovascular system. When you're lifting weights, your cardiovascular system is working. Your heart doesn't care what you do to get the rate of its beating up. As long as your heart rate increases, you're benefiting that cardiovascular system. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you're training for a running race that you don't need to run. Obviously, you want to train specifically for that event. But if you're simply doing exercises to try to benefit and keep your heart and lungs healthy, even lifting weights technically counts as cardio.